That was
Shut up.
really funny. Yeah, so what? Stop.
I've had enough already.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're.
Look
Just
like shit.
say each of your names, and what you playing, who you're playing with.
Okay.
That's Nate Smith.
That's exactly what the Johnny Bear and Emac did. They introduced each other.
Yeah.
All right. That's Solomon Dorsey. He's playing bass with Jose James.
That's Nate.
Good.
That's
Brent.
no. That's Nate. That's Nathaniel Ira Smith. Oh.
Ira Nathaniel. But that was
Ira Nathaniel. Oh,
Yeah.
excuse me. AKA Slim Daddy.
AKA Beat Pimp.
Yes.
Beat Pimp.
Beat him. That's Nate Smith playing drums with Jose James.
And we're asking people about their experiences having been in Chicago over the years. Do you guys each possibly remember your first time here and what the circumstances were?
I do. I was. I think my first time here was like 03 playing. I was with Dave Holland. We were playing at the Jazz Showcase, the old Jazz Showcase. Well, I guess there have been a few, but we were at the one right here on Ohio. I think it was on Ohio Street.
Right.
And that was my first time here, and it was great. It was a week-long run. We stayed at that Best Western right there, and it was like right downtown. And we had all day, every day to like wander. So it was really good because I got to like, explore downtown a little bit. So I loved it. I still do.
I think my first time coming to Chicago, strange because I'm from nearby, was probably about 2007, maybe 2008, and I was playing with a pop singer named Laura Isibor, and we were playing at the House of Blues. That was my first time in Chicago.
And do you guys have like a sense of a Chicago sound in the music? Doesn't have to be jazz. It could be whatever it is, in your listening and your upbringing.
Well, I mean, obviously, there have been a lot, having been here, I didn't really know much about the lineage, the Chicago lineage, until I came for the first time, and then going to the showcase and seeing, learning about the great musicians from here, especially Vaughn Freeman, who I never got to hear play live, unfortunately. But, I'm not going to be honest, I don't know like a lot about the history of Chicago. I know some of my favorite artists across genres are from Chicago, like, Common, who I like, and that's a Chicago hip-hop thing. Kanye's from here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually find myself listening to those guys a lot, kind of gravitating toward them. So maybe there's something in the musical DNA, that draws me to it. But, and also I know there's a great deal of blues coming out of Chicago, about the Midwest in general, but I know Chicago's a blues town. So yeah, I mean, that is something that is really apparent when I come here.
Sure.
One question, am I looking at you or looking at the camera?
Me.
Okay. So for Chicago, I mean, of course, like I when I was younger, I've always been in love with artists that I don't think they're actually from Chicago, but they kind of came to prominence in and around Chicago, like the old blues guys, like Howlin' Wolf has always been a favorite of mine, and Muddy Waters, and so all that stuff that was happening on Chess Records has been so influential for me. Willie Dixon, that stuff. One thing that I noticed coming to Chicago, especially after coming here playing jazz things and kind of hanging out and just seeing how jazz operates in Chicago, it's just so rooted. I mean, Chicago music, even as, it can get really progressive and kind of on the avant-garde side, but it always has this great sense of swing and great sense of feel, and jazz is kind of alive here in a way that it might actually not be in New York. There's a lot of jazz happening in New York, but a lot of it is happening for people who are connoisseurs of jazz and looking for the most progressive, most interesting, nuanced thing. Whereas Chicago is full of players, and maybe this is just my experience. I don't know if this is across the board, but in my experience, it's full of people who play jazz that is on a high level and is played to make people feel really good. And
It's like folk music here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's incredible. You know, it makes me, you know, it's always something. I remember I think actually the first times I played jazz here were at the Showcase too. But I remember doing a couple nights at the Green Mill, and I wish to God I could remember the name of this group, but it was funny. It was two tenor players, an organ, and a drummer, and all night they were just like just in it. And it's like, all right, Chicago.
Yeah.
And ate some dope Ethiopian food across the street.
Right. Had some heralds.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking about when you mentioned avant-garde stuff. Yeah, it's like
Art ensemble.
art ensemble. I mean, I think about that Jack. All Herbie. I mean, I think about
Oh yeah, I forgot Herbie's from Chicago.
It's crazy, but as far out as it gets, like especially when I think about them, when those cats, AACM.
Yeah.
As far out as it gets, it's still earthy. You don't feel like it's disconnected. It's not all here. There's still some heart in it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So now I actually do know a lot about Chicago.
That leads me well to my next question. This is the
Will you pause?
yeah.